I will be talking about language arts in this section today. I will be referencing this little guide that you will see on your screen, the Common Core Standards, a step-by-step approach for English language arts. In English language arts, there are kind of 5 major things that they are looking for kindergarten through 6th grade. They are reading, writing, listening, speaking, and then using the language with different grammar. I will go through each of these strands. They do not have specific standards as other content area does, but rather strands of learning that build upon each other depending on which grade level they are in. So kindergartners will learn the basics, 1st grade will build off of that. Starting with the reading strands, there are reading for foundational skills, reading strands for literature, and reading strands for informational text. Those are sort of the 3 major things that you will see often with kindergarten through 5th grade learners. The first one, reading foundational skills. There are concepts of print where students are just learning. Words are learned from reading left to right. Sentences are from left to right. There are spaces in between words. There are capital letters. There are lowercase letters. They're learning all of those things in concepts of print. With phonological awareness, again, we're starting with young children, kindergarten and 1st grade. They're learning how to blend different sounds together to make words. They're learning about rhyming words. They learn how to separate one word into several different sounds. Moving on to phonics and word recognition, then students across all grade levels are learning how to use skills. Maybe it's when you add a final E and it changes the way that a word is pronounced, or it could be using different syllables, breaking up the syllables into words, using prefixes and suffixes, those different meanings. Fluency is where the students are reading with something that we tell our students to teach them ears, E-A-R-S, which means they're learning with expression, accuracy, rate, and if they can do those things and read in a way that other people can understand them, then that is working on fluency. It also supports comprehension, which is the next section that we'll talk about. In reading standards for literature, there are key ideas and details. Students of all ages, kindergarten through 6th grade, are learning about characters, settings, events, what is important in a story and what is not. Then there is craft and structure, where students are identifying the title, what makes up a story, where the conclusion would be. Maybe sophisticated grades would go on with things such as building on prior text, or this is the same genre as one we have read before. The integration of knowledge and ideas is when students in the younger grades are maybe using pictures to help them understand what the words are saying. As they get older, they might be comparing and contrasting different authors or stories. They might even take the same story and see how it would change when changing the context or the setting of the story. Then there is range of reading and level complexity. That is basically where we want students to be reading different types of literature, and we also want them to increase, getting harder and harder as they go so that they are challenging themselves. The last strand under reading is reading standards for informational text. Again, key ideas and details. These are things that we're normally talking about with science and social studies. So in it, they might be looking for events or a series of things that happen from one concept to another to make sure they are making sense. In craft and structure, students are looking at text features such as the title, graphs, charts, even the glossary, definitions of words. Moving on to integration of knowledge and ideas is where students are then able to use notebooks to take notes, to draw themselves different illustrations and charts to help them understand an informational text. And then again, reading range of complexity is where we want students to read things as they get harder and harder as they get going, so they're not stuck on the same level. Those are for reading. Moving on in the language arts standards is the writing strands. And the writing strands are similar. They're not quite as complex as the reading strands, but there are text types and purposes. Students will be writing for a lot of different reasons. It could be to persuade, it could be to inform, it could be a narrative where they're telling a story about their life. And those also get harder and harder and build upon each other as students get older. More is expected of them as they get older. The production and distribution of writing is basically how are students presenting their writing. Are they using computers to type it out? Are they writing with hand, with a pen or a pencil? Once they get to 4th grade, then they have to think about things like their audience that they will be using as they are writing. Who are they writing for? Another strand is research to build and present knowledge. That's how students will present their work. Maybe they'll add a picture to help the audience understand what they're writing even better. Maybe they'll create a graph. Maybe they'll create a chart. Anything that will add to their writing to present their writing in a better way. The last strand in writing is the range of writing. Again, we want students to start out basic. They might be writing a sentence in 1st grade and build to paragraphs by 3rd grade. They'll be writing for longer periods of time once they get to 4th and 5th grades. So that is writing. The speaking and listening strands are comprehension and collaboration. Can students not only talk to each other and collaborate about what they are hearing and learning and reading and writing, but can they comprehend what other people are saying? Can they take their peers' work and understand that as well? Ask questions. The other strand is presentation of knowledge and ideas. So they will be able to present to each other not only what they have read and what they have learned, but what they think and what they think about other people's work. They will express their ideas clearly and be able to organize it in a way that someone else could follow. The last strand in language arts is the language, just overall language strands. Here we're talking about conventions of standard English. That includes parts of speech such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, as well as punctuation, spelling, and capitalization. Another strand is knowledge of language. This is where they understand that the way that they read something and they write something may be slightly different than how they would say something, and the different ways that information can be presented and spoken through the English language or written through the English language. The last one is vocabulary acquisition and use. Beginning in the very early grades, students will be using vocabulary in different ways and using it in different contexts. That, of course, increases as students get older, where they are not only using new vocabulary words, but they're looking to understand Greek and Latin roots. And that is basically all in the language arts step-by-step approach manual that you will see. And I hope that helps when you're teaching language arts.